Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. The kind of place that makes you feel like you need permission just to breathe. A woman walks through the front doors. Worn coat. Plastic bag in her hand. She moves slowly, the way people move when life has been heavy for a long time. Security guards straighten up the moment they see her. Then a voice cuts through the lobby like a blade. Get her out. Now. People like her don't belong here. The man who said it doesn't even look up from his phone at first. Raymond Chen. Billionaire. Real estate mogul. The kind of man whose name opens doors and closes them. He's surrounded by bodyguards and wearing a suit that costs more than most people make in a month. He runs half the legitimate business in this city. The other half, people only whisper about. The woman stops. She doesn't cry. She doesn't argue. She just turns and looks at him, slow and steady, and says 7 words. I remember you. Do you remember me? Raymond laughs. His guards laugh. The whole lobby watches. Nobody laughs for long. Her name is Diane Okafor. 52 years old. Former ICU nurse. Widowed. Right now she's sleeping in her sister's spare room because medical bills took everything she spent 30 years building. She is not flashy. She never was. But the women who raised her gave her something she never put down. How you treat someone with nothing tells everything about who you really are. Diane carries those words like they're written on her bones. Raymond Chen carries something very different. A quiet belief that the world sorts people correctly. That if you're at the bottom, you belong there. These two crossed paths once before. He forgot. She never did. And tonight, that difference is going to change everything. Diane's alarm goes off at 5:30 every morning. Not because she has somewhere important to be. Just because her body never learned how to sleep in. Old nurse habits. When you spend enough years waking up before the sun to care for other people, your body stops asking questions and just does it. She boils water on a small hot plate in the corner of her sister's spare room. Makes tea. Sits by the window for a few quiet minutes before the day starts pulling at her. Then she gets up and goes. 3 times a week she walks into the same temp agency and sits in the same plastic chair and waits. The woman at the desk always gives her a small smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. We'll call you when something comes in. They never call. Diane goes back anyway. She applies for nursing positions online every evening. She is qualified. She is experienced. She knows things about critical care that take years to learn. The applications go out and nothing comes back. No email. No phone call. Just silence on the other end, over and over again, like shouting into a room with no walls. But Thursdays are different. On Thursdays, Diane volunteers at a small community health clinic 2 bus rides away. She takes blood pressure readings. She listens. She explains things to people in plain language so they leave understanding what the doctor just told them. The staff there knows her name. The patients ask for her by name. For a few hours every Thursday, Diane remembers exactly who she is. She always calls Kezia on the walk home. Kezia is her daughter. Lives overseas now, doing well, very well, though Diane only knows the outline of it. Kezia always picks up on the second ring. They talk about small things. Something funny that happened. What Kezia cooked for dinner. Whether it's raining. Diane keeps her voice light the whole time, easy and warm, because she made a decision a while back that Kezia would not carry this weight. Kezia has her own life to build. Diane is not going to be a stone in her pocket. So she laughs on the phone and says everything is fine. And Kezia, who loves her mother more than she loves most things in this world, almost believes her. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when Diane walked into a hospital and the whole floor shifted around her. Charge nurse. 15 years in the ICU. The kind of woman that new doctors quietly watched because she always knew something they hadn't figured out yet. Patients' families would ask for her specifically. Is Diane working today? Her name meant safe. It meant someone is paying attention. Then her husband got sick. Then the accident. Then the bills came, slow at first, then all at once, the way water finds every crack. She used the savings. Then the retirement fund. Then everything else. By the time the dust settled, the life she had built was just a shape on the floor where something used to be. She doesn't rage about it. That's what people don't understand about Diane. Her grief is not loud. It doesn't look for someone to blame. She simply picked up what was left, folded it neatly, and kept moving. The only thing she kept, really kept, through all of it, is a thin gold bracelet on her left wrist. Her husband gave it to her on their wedding day. It's the last thing she touches before she falls asleep each night. She never takes it off. Raymond Chen's name is on 3 buildings you can see from the highway. Not small buildings. The kind that catch light in the morning and make people slow down just a little when they drive past. His face has been on the cover of 2 business magazines in the last year alone. Visionary. Empire builder. The man reshaping the city's skyline. The writers who profile him always use words like that. They never write about the other part. The network that runs underneath his legitimate business like roots under a lawn. The favors people owe him that have nothing to do with money. The kind of debt that doesn't come with paperwork but never gets forgotten. The quiet room where men sit and wait for instructions and never ask why. That part of Raymond Chen doesn't appear in magazines. But it's just as real as the buildings with his name on them. Here is the thing about Raymond that makes him truly dangerous. He is not a monster. Monsters are easy to spot. Raymond is charming. Genuinely charming. The kind that makes you feel chosen when he turns it on you. He gives generously to causes. The right causes. The ones with good photographers and prominent guest lists. In a boardroom, he is sharp and fast, and usually the smartest person present. People who meet him at events walk away impressed. But there is a gap in him. Wide and deep. He simply cannot see the value of anyone who doesn't look like success to him. It's not something he thinks about or questions. It's just how his eyes work. When he looks at someone struggling, he doesn't see circumstances or bad luck or a system that grinds people down. He sees a verdict. A person who didn't try hard enough. A person who, at some fundamental level, deserves exactly where they are. To Raymond Chen, poverty is not something that happens to people. It is something that reveals them. Watch him at the charity gala. His charity, of course, the Chen Foundation, annual dinner, $500 a plate. He moves through the room like he owns it, because he does. A waiter carrying a tray of glasses steps too close, and one tips over, spilling across the edge of a table. Raymond doesn't shout. He just looks at the young man with an expression so flat and cold that the waiter actually takes a step back. No words needed. The look says everything. An elderly donor tries to tell Raymond a story, something about the foundation, something personal and heartfelt. Raymond listens for about 45 seconds before smoothly cutting in, redirecting the conversation towards someone more useful to him. The old man blinks, flustered, still holding his thought with nowhere to put it. Near the entrance, a small group of black women arrive together, dressed well, clearly invited. Raymond glances over. Then he leans toward his assistant and says it quietly, barely moving his lips. Make sure the optics stay clean tonight. His assistant writes something down without looking up. Neither of them says anything more about it. Standing a few feet away, holding a glass he hasn't touched all evening, is David. He has worked beside Raymond Chen for 15 years. He has heard things in that time that would make most people walk out the door. He has watched moments like this one more times than he can count. David says nothing. He is very good at that by now. He tells himself it isn't the same as agreeing. But somewhere underneath that, in a place he doesn't visit often, he knows that silence has a way of becoming its own kind of answer. Diane almost didn't come. She stood in her sister's spare room that evening holding the invitation. Real paper, cream-colored, with Dr. Priya Anand's handwriting across the front, and looked at herself in the small mirror on the wall. Her best dress is navy blue with small buttons down the front. It is clean and pressed, and it fits her well. It is not a gala dress. She knows that. She has known it since she pulled it out of the bag. She almost put it back. But then she read Priya's note again. You have to be there. You saved my career once. Let me celebrate you too. Diane folded the note carefully, put it in her plastic bag along with a card she had written and a small wrapped gift, and walked out the door. She rode 2 buses to get to the Grand Meridian Hotel. The lobby hits you the moment you walk in. Marble everywhere. Chandeliers that hang so low and heavy with light that the whole room glows. Women in long gowns. Men in dark suits. The kind of place where everything is polished to the point of being unreal. Diane gets through the front doors and makes it maybe 6 steps before a security guard steps into her path. Then another one appears at her side. She looks at them calmly and starts to explain. She has an invitation. She is a guest of Dr. Anand. She reaches toward her bag to find the card. She never gets the chance. Raymond Chen is arriving at the same moment, fresh from the valet line, photographers shifting toward him like a tide. He is mid-smile for the cameras when he sees her. Takes her in. The dress. The plastic bag. The 2 security guards already circling. And in less than 3 seconds, Less time than it takes to draw a full breath. He makes a decision. He walks over. Not to help. Not to ask. To perform. This isn't a shelter. His voice is loud and clear, aimed at the room as much as at her. Whatever you're selling, whoever told you that you could walk in here, they were wrong. The lobby goes quiet in that particular way crowds go quiet when they smell something happening. Phones come up. Cameras turn. A photographer who had been shooting Raymond's arrival shifts his angle without even thinking about it. Diane looks at Raymond steadily and says, "I was invited." 2 words. Quiet. No shaking in them. Raymond smiles. It is a slow smile, practiced and sharp, the kind he is used to make much more powerful people feel small. Invited. Right. He lets the word sit there a moment. By who? God. Laughter moves through the crowd. Someone near the back actually claps. The photographer's camera clicks. Security closes the space around Diane and begins steering her firmly toward the exit. She doesn't fight it. She holds her bag against her chest and walks. She is almost at the door when it happens. A security guard moves too close. His elbow catches her wrist. There is a small, sharp sound. Almost nothing, barely a sound at all. And then her gold bracelet drops from her wrist and hits the marble floor. Diane stops. She looks down at it lying there. That thin gold band. Her husband's hands on the clasp on their wedding day. 30 years on her wrist without a single day off. She doesn't cry. She bends down, picks it up, closes it in her fist, and walks out the door. Now let's stop here for a moment. Because while Raymond Chen straightens his jacket and turns back toward the photographers, while the crowd in that lobby shifts and murmurs and goes back to its drinks, there is something none of them know. Something that changes everything about what just happened. Kezia Okafor is not simply Diane's daughter living abroad. Most people who know the name Kezia Okafor Leong know it from financial circles. Quiet ones. The kind where serious money moves without making noise. 2 years ago, a private equity firm called Meridian Capital Asia made a significant move, acquiring a controlling stake in the Grand Meridian Hotel Group. A clean deal. Professionally handled. The kind that gets a small paragraph in a business journal and then disappears from public conversation. Kezia is the silent founding partner of that firm, which means the marble floors Raymond Chen just had Diane escorted across, the chandeliers, the front desk, the security guards, the whole gleaming building. All of it operates, ultimately, under the financial ownership of Diane Okafor's daughter. But that is only part of it. 8 months ago, Kezia got married. Her husband's name is Marcus Leong. He is thoughtful, sharp, and deeply loyal to the people he loves. He is also the nephew of Raymond Chen, the one Raymond has spent years grooming as the heir to the legitimate side of the Chen family's business empire. That means Diane Okafor is Raymond Chen's family. Not distantly, not technically, by marriage, through his own blood, she is connected directly to him. Raymond would have known this. It would have been impossible not to know if he had simply shown up to the wedding. He was invited. The invitation was extended properly, with patience and genuine goodwill. He sent a brief message declining and never thought about it again. He never asked who Marcus had married. Never asked about her family. Never asked about her mother. He had decided, without looking, that it wasn't worth his attention. Now here is the last piece. Kezia had been watching her mother's situation for months. She knew about the temp agency. She knew about the Thursday clinic shifts and the bus rides and the hot plate in the corner of the spare room. Diane had refused every direct offer of help. Refused it warmly but firmly, the way a woman refuses something when her pride is the last thing standing. Kezia respected that. She waited. But she did not do nothing. She arranged the gala evening carefully. Dr. Priya Anand's honoring was real, but Kezia had quietly made sure the event would also be a moment for Diane. A room full of people who remembered who she was. A chance to be seen properly, celebrated properly, by the community that once called her name when things got hard. Kezia also had a security detail present at the hotel. Small. Discreet. The kind you don't notice because they don't want you to. They were there for routine reasons. They had been there all evening. One of them was standing near the lobby entrance when Raymond Chen walked over to Diane. He watched the whole thing. Every word. The crowd. The phones going up. The bracelet hitting the floor. Diane walking out with her fist closed around it. He waited until she was through the doors. Then he pressed a single button on his earpiece and spoke quietly. "Ma'am, it's happened. Your mother just left the building." On the other end of the line, there was a short silence. Then Kezia said, "I'm on my way." Diane finds a bench just outside the hotel's main entrance, far enough from the doors that nobody bothers her, close enough that she can still hear the faint sound of music drifting out from inside. She opens her fist and looks at the bracelet. The clasp is bent, but not broken. She turns it over in her fingers, finds the small hinge, and begins working it back into shape. Her hands are steady the whole time. 30 years of nursing will do that to you. Teach your hands to stay calm when everything else wants to fall apart. Nurses' hands don't shake. Not for this. Not for anything. She gets the clasp back into position and fastens it around her wrist. Smooths it flat with her thumb. Then she sits for a moment and just breathes. There is something very still inside her right now. Not broken. She has been through losses that would have hollowed out a different person, and she is still here, still whole, still herself. A man like Raymond Chen does not have the power to undo her. She knew that even as security was steering her toward the door. But tired is different from broken, and tonight added something to the weight she already carries. She feels it settling across her shoulders like a coat that's too heavy for the season. She takes out her phone and calls Priya. Priya picks up on the first ring, and Diane can immediately tell from her voice that she already knows something went wrong. "Diane, where are you? I've been looking for you." Diane keeps her voice easy. She apologizes for missing the start of the evening. Says something came up at the entrance. Doesn't give the full story, just enough to explain her absence without making it into more than she wants it to be tonight. But Priya is already moving. Already in the lobby asking questions. The staff she corners gives her careful, vague answers that somehow manage to say everything by saying very little. Priya is a doctor. She has been reading what people aren't saying for 25 years. She understands immediately. Her voice when she comes back on the line is quiet and tight. "Stay where you are, please." Inside the hotel, Raymond Chen is at the best table in the room. He has a glass of something expensive in his hand and 3 people at his elbow laughing at the right moments. He has already forgotten Diane. That is the truth of it. She passed through his attention like a cloud passing in front of the sun. There, and then gone, and the sky looks the same either way. He makes a joke about the woman at the door. Something light, throwaway, the kind of comment that expects the room to agree and move on. A few people smile uneasily. A few others look somewhere else. It is not the warm laughter he expected. David doesn't laugh at all. He sits beside Raymond with his glass untouched and his eyes on the tablecloth, and says absolutely nothing. Whatever is going on behind his expression, he keeps it locked down. But his jaw is tight in a way that wasn't there an hour ago. 20 minutes away, a black car moves smoothly through city traffic. Kezia is in the back seat in a deep green gown, her phone held out in front of her. The lobby security footage plays on the screen, sharp and clear, every angle covered. Raymond's voice comes through the small speaker. Then the crowd's laughter. Then the sound, small but distinct, of a bracelet hitting a marble floor. Marcus watches it beside her without speaking. When it ends, he is quiet for a long moment, looking at nothing in particular. Then he says, "He doesn't know, does he?" Kezia's eyes stay straight ahead. He's about to. Kezia walks through the front doors of the Grand Meridian and doesn't break her stride for a single second. She is not loud. She doesn't look around for someone to impress or announce herself to. She doesn't need to. There is a certain kind of presence that fills a room without asking permission, and Kezia has it completely. It is not about the gown, though the gown is beautiful. It is not about her looks, though heads turn. It is something older and quieter than any of that. The particular stillness of a person who knows exactly what they own and has nothing to prove about it. The hotel manager appears at her side within seconds. He is a trim man in a dark suit, and tonight he looks like someone who has just remembered a very serious mistake he made earlier and cannot stop thinking about it. His face is pale. His smile is working too hard. Kezia doesn't waste time. She looks at him directly and says 4 words. "Bring my mother in." That is all. No explanation. No raised voice. 4 words delivered the way you deliver a fact, not a request. The manager nods immediately and moves toward the entrance himself. Not a junior staff member, not a security guard, but the manager of the hotel, personally. And within 2 minutes, Diane Okafor is walking back through the front doors of the Grand Meridian Hotel. Properly this time. With space around her. With the manager slightly ahead, holding the door. Diane walks in with her back straight and her bracelet on her wrist and her plastic bag still in her hand because she never put it down. She finds Kezia's eyes across the lobby, and something passes between them that doesn't need words. Kezia moves to her side. The room has shifted. People feel it without fully understanding it yet. Conversations have dropped to a lower volume. Eyes are moving toward the entrance. At his table, Raymond Chen looks up. He takes in the commotion. Registers the woman in the green gown who clearly has the hotel manager orbiting her like a nervous moon. Registers the crowd parting slightly to make space. He is good at reading rooms, genuinely good, and something in this one tells him a new variable has entered. Then he sees who is standing beside her. The woman from the lobby. And Raymond Chen, who has spent decades building a version of himself that does not back down in public, makes the worst decision of his evening, maybe of his life. He stands up, buttons his jacket, crosses the room with his shoulders back and his gala smile already in place. That smooth, confident smile that has always been enough before. I don't know what story she told you, he says, his voice carrying just enough for the nearby tables to hear. But this woman was loitering. I was protecting the hotels. Finish that sentence. Kezia's voice is not loud. It is not angry. It is soft in the way that a closed door is soft, solid, final, not moving for anyone. Two words that land in the space between them like something heavy set down on a table. Raymond stops. His smile holds, but something shifts behind his eyes. A flicker. A new reading of the situation trying to push through. The room is very quiet now. He can feel it. But his ego is a fortress built over 50 years, and it does not open its gates easily. He straightens. Lifts his chin slightly. I run events in this hotel 3 times a year. I think I know what belongs here and what doesn't. The silence that follows is the loudest thing in the room. Across the gala floor, Dr. Priya Anand stands completely still with her hands clasped in front of her. She closes her eyes for just a moment, like someone who knows exactly what is coming next and is bracing for it. At Raymond's table, David gets to his feet. Slowly, quietly. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't have to. He has spent 15 years learning how to read the moment right before everything changes, and he is reading it now. He already knows. He has already begun doing the math. Kezia turns to the hotel manager. Her voice is calm and clear. Pull the ownership documentation on screen, please. The lobby screen. The manager moves without hesitating. A few keystrokes at the concierge desk. A brief pause where the whole room seems to hold its breath. Then the large flat screen above the desk, the one that usually displays the Grand Meridian logo in soft gold letters, flickers once. And changes. A document fills the screen. Clean. Official. The kind of paperwork that represents an enormous amount of money and an enormous amount of power. At the top, in plain text, Meridian Capital Asia. Acquisition and ownership documentation. Grand Meridian Hotel Group. And there, listed under founding partners, in letters large enough for everyone in the lobby to read without moving closer. Diane Okafor. The sound that moves through the room is not a shout. It is softer than that and somehow bigger, a wave of sharp, quiet breath. Gasps that people try to swallow and can't quite manage. Near the back, someone pulls up the Meridian Capital Asia website on their phone with shaking fingers and holds it up without even thinking about it. The screen shows a professional photograph. A woman in a dark blazer, composed and direct. The same woman standing in this lobby right now. Beneath the photo, the title reads, Co-founder and Managing Partner. 2 or 3 people around them lean in to look. Then more. Raymond Chen has not moved. He is standing exactly where he was, and for the first time tonight, possibly for the first time in a very long while, he has nothing to say. Kezia gestures to her left, where Marcus has appeared at her side. Quiet. Steady. His presence adding its own weight to everything already in the room. And this is Marcus Leong, Kezia says. Your nephew, Raymond. The one who married my mother's daughter. 8 months ago. At a ceremony you were invited to and declined to attend. Raymond's eyes move to Marcus. Marcus looks back at him without any particular expression. No anger. No satisfaction. Just a clear, level gaze that says everything by offering nothing. Raymond goes very still. The kind of still that happens when the ground shifts under a person and their body hasn't decided yet what to do about it. Kezia reaches into her small clutch and takes out a photograph. It is printed on good paper and slightly creased at one corner from being carried carefully. She holds it for a moment, then places it on the table in front of Raymond. Flat. Deliberate. The way you place something that is finished. The photo is from the wedding. Sunlight. Flowers. Marcus and Kezia at the altar, facing each other. And there in the front row, in a yellow dress with her face open and full of joy, holding a bouquet of white flowers against her chest, Diane. Radiant. Every year of hardship invisible for that one moment. Raymond looks down at it. Doesn't pick it up. Kezia turns to face the room. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. The room is so quiet that every word lands perfectly. This woman, my mother, spent 30 years as a critical care nurse. She saved lives in this city. She was personally invited here tonight to be celebrated by colleagues she mentored and served alongside. Instead, she was publicly humiliated, physically handled, and her property was damaged. She pauses just long enough for that to settle. By a guest who decided her worth the moment he saw her coat. Nobody speaks. He was wrong about her. Another pause, shorter this time. He has been wrong about a lot of things. Then the screen above the concierge desk changes again. The ownership document slides away, and something else takes its place. The lobby security footage from earlier that evening. Crisp and steady. Multiple angles. Raymond's voice comes through the speakers at a clear, even volume. Every word he said to Diane. His smile when the crowd laughed. The moment the security guard's elbow caught her wrist. The bracelet leaving her wrist and striking the marble floor. Diane bending down, picking it up, closing her hand around it, walking out alone. It plays on loop. And the crowd, the photographers, the gala guests, the staff, watches it in complete silence. Nobody looks away. Nobody moves toward the exit. Nobody laughs. Raymond Chen stands in the middle of it all and stares at the screen, and the expression on his face is the one that comes when a person finally understands that something is over. By the next morning, it is everywhere. Not because Kezia released the footage. She never touched it. She didn't need to. 7 different phones in that lobby had already done the work. 7 different angles, 7 different uploads. All of them live before Diane's bus ride home was even halfway finished. By midnight, the clips had been shared tens of thousands of times. By sunrise, Raymond Chen's name was attached to a story he could not control, moving across the internet at a speed that no PR team on Earth could outrun. The comments sections fill up fast. So do the inboxes of every board member connected to the Chen family's legitimate business interests. The Chen family board calls an emergency session before the week is out. 3 major institutional investors request calls, not to express support, but to ask careful, pointed questions that all mean the same thing. 2 hotels within the Grand Meridian Group put out quiet statements announcing a review of their existing partnership agreements with Raymond's firm. His annual gala sponsorship, the one with his name on the program in large letters, is rescinded without a press release. Just a phone call, a brief conversation, and then silence where his name used to be. Then Marcus speaks. He issues what is described as a private statement to the Chen family. Private statements have a way of becoming public when enough people feel they should be seen. His words are short and plain and leave no room for interpretation. I will not defend what I watched on that screen. My mother-in-law is one of the finest people I have ever known. If our family cannot recognize that, I will build something with Kezia that does. 15 words into that statement, Raymond's position as Marcus's mentor and chosen successor is finished. Not officially, not with paperwork, but in every way that actually matters, it is done. Raymond's team releases an apology 2 days later. It is carefully written. Every word has been reviewed by at least one lawyer. It acknowledges the incident, expresses regret for any distress caused, and commits to a review of staff training procedures. It is the kind of apology that is specifically designed to sound like an apology while admitting nothing and meaning less. Nobody is convinced. Not the investors. Not the board. Not the people who watched that footage and saw Raymond smile while a woman's bracelet hit the floor. On a Wednesday, David cleans out his desk. He doesn't issue a statement. He doesn't give an interview. He doesn't explain himself to anyone. He simply arrives early, packs the few personal items he kept in his office over 15 years, a small framed photo, a coffee mug, 2 books, carries the box out to his car, and drives away. The absence of any explanation is, in its own way, the loudest thing he has ever said. And Diane. 3 days after the night at the Grand Meridian, there is a smaller gathering. Private. Warm. The room holds the people who actually know Dr. Priya Anand. Colleagues, former patients, Nurses and doctors who came up together through long night shifts and difficult years. Priya stands at the front and gives a speech. It is mostly about one person. She talks about a charge nurse who taught her how to really listen to patients, who stayed late without being asked, who once talked a terrified family through the worst night of their lives with such steadiness that they sent a card to the hospital every year on the anniversary. The room gives a standing ovation. Diane is wearing her yellow dress, the one from the wedding photo, and on her left wrist, fastened carefully and sitting exactly where it belongs, is a thin gold bracelet, the clasp newly repaired, the metal warm against her skin. She stands and smiles and thanks them simply, the way she does everything. No performance. No speech about what she went through. No mention of Raymond Chen at all. She doesn't gloat. She never did. That was never the point. The point, the one her mother taught her, the one she carried through 30 years of nursing and loss and starting over, is that your character is not what you do when people are watching and the room is full of cameras. It is what you do when nobody is watching and the only thing left is the choice of who you want to be. Diane Okafor always knew who she was. Raymond Chen spent a lifetime deciding who other people were, in 3 seconds, from a distance, based on nothing but a coat and a plastic bag. Be careful who you dismiss. You never know who they made. Raymond Chen spent his whole life deciding who was worth his time and who wasn't. He made those decisions quickly, confidently, and without looking too closely. He built an empire on that habit. He never once considered that the woman he looked through in that lobby, the one he dismissed in under 3 seconds, might be the one person his entire family could not afford to lose. Diane Okafor never needed a building with her name on it. She never needed a seat at Raymond's table or a title that made people move out of her way. She had something he never built and never could. She had a daughter who watched quietly from a distance, who waited patiently, who moved mountains without making a sound, all for the woman who raised her to treat every person with dignity, regardless of what they were wearing or what they were carrying or how tired they looked when they walked through the door. That is what Raymond Chen could not see. That is what it cost him. Be careful who you dismiss. You never know who they made. If this story sat with you, like, share, drop a comment, and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know where my people are. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. There are more stories where this one came from.